Hey everybody, welcome to the Have You Ever Played podcast, the only podcast that uses deadly weapons as fidget toys. I'm your host, Matt, aka Matt Fondude, and who are you?
I'm James, aka Afro40.
And James, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get in that's a reference to a story that we're gonna get into later.
Okay,
But
I'm
I
excited.
want to announce that I have just started a new YouTube channel at Matt Fondude, in which I am uploading more heavily edited content like YouTube shorts and long form content that is outside of just my streaming archive. So I'm very excited,
Ooh,
and it should be up by the time this episode goes up. So go subscribe if you want to see more cool content.
Pog.
All right. Housekeeping out of the way. We talked about that. I want to go right into that story that I mentioned at the beginning.
hmm
So I was reading some headlines as you do, uh, and this is a really strange story because I was trying to find different articles to get the full story. But let me just read you the headline so you can react to that. A
Okay.
48-year-old man is sentenced to 4 months for brandishing a replica master sword in public.
Um.
Initial thoughts.
Okay.
So
It
what
was
is what
so
does
it was
that
like an
conjure in your mind?
so it was like an actual sword.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I figured it was some giant prop sword cosplay or something. But the rabbit hole in this article goes so much deeper.
Okay.
So basically, I guess the sword itself was actually a blade that was only 6 inches long. So it was like a pocket kind of sword, and it had like a
Okay.
hilt that protected the blade. So I was thinking, okay, well, maybe it's still illegal in certain areas. The blade length, if it's over a certain length, it's illegal to open carry.
hmm
But then I was thinking, okay, well, this is clearly some sort of weird little toy because it's a replica, right?
Yeah.
But this is where everything gets crazy. So the blade, and with the sheath, actually has a button that would spring
Ooh.
out the sheath and then unveil the blade, which is not legal.
Ooh.
And the blade was actually a sharp blade. Like that's the
Ooh.
part that I'm like, oh wait, so it's a real like knife.
Not good.
Yeah, it's not good. And I was back in reading this article, I was back and forth on the side of the person, and then I was on the side of the police,
hmm
where I was like, okay, well maybe they're overreacting a bit. It's just kind of a, it's a novelty sword that's, probably not even that sharp,
Yeah.
and maybe it is a fidget toy and they're overreacting because the person who had the sword, they were charged with 4 months in prison, or they had to spend 4 months in prison and had to pay like a 150 pound charge for the victims
hmm
of the incident. So I was like, okay, this is maybe they're overreacting a little bit. But it turns out that the blade was actually like a real knife. It just looks like a master sword. And the person who committed this crime was a repeat offender who had many prison sentences and so was like a serial burglar. So then you think, okay, well now I'm kind of back on the side. I feel like you had to be there, but it's an insane story, right?
Yeah. It is pretty crazy.
What do you think? Do you think the person was malicious, or do you think it was a fidget toy?
Um. I honestly can't tell because I feel like it's one of those things where it's just comical enough that the guy could have been serious. Because it's like the way I think about it, if you're walking around like that, everybody thinks it's a joke, but it's like not.
See, that's what I was thinking too. Where if you're going to brandish a weapon in public, if you make it like a novelty weapon, then people might think you're not actually a threat,
Yeah,
and you could get away with. You have plausible deniability with the police.
yeah. I don't know. It's a really weird situation. I
Because
gotta
then
say.
you do kind of feel bad that if it was legitimately a fidget toy, then it's
hmm
that's pretty overreacting. Although the police did make a statement saying like you can get a fidget toy that isn't a 6 inch blade, which is
Yeah,
what, fair enough. I think the sharpened aspect, if it was a blunt thing, it wouldn't have mattered. I think the fact that it was sharp, but who knows how sharp this
yeah,
blade actually was. It's just a bizarre
yeah. Let
story,
me get
and
out my sharpness measurement.
Well, it's funny. There's an image in the like debriefing of the blade next to like a tape measure measuring the length and
Hmm.
all that stuff. This was one of those stories where I tried to find several articles to see because it seems like a very sensationalized headline, but I tried
Yeah.
to find the reasonable take with it. It almost seems like an AI generated story, to be honest.
Yep. It definitely does.
I found several people reporting on it. I mean, who knows? Take this all with a grain of salt. It's a
Yeah.
headline that's too comedic to maybe be true, but who knows?
Hmm.
Anyway, let's move on to something a little less comedic for people who enjoy privateering content on the internet. So, Nintendo has been extremely litigious of any creator on fan projects, on modding, and especially on piracy.
Hmm.
And recently, I don't know if James, if you're aware, but the Nintendo Switch has a mod chip. It's basically like an R4 card on a DS where you could
Hmm.
put in a cartridge and play any
Oh,
game you want.
yeah. I had one of those. I remember. That was
Yeah,
fun.
so those are cool now because, the DS is ancient. And I don't think, I mean, Nintendo would still be mad at you for having one, but it's not as big a deal now. The fact that they're selling the equivalent for a Switch is a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, as that is something that is actively still being sold and people are pirating these games. So Nintendo had sent out a warning to the creator of the mod chip and told them, "Hey, stop selling this stuff. We're going to sue you." Which they're pretty much very in their right to do because
Hmm.
Nintendo will stop a fan project, which is hilarious. They'll stop something like a children's birthday with a Mario balloon, but things like this, it's fair enough. Nintendo, there people are selling mod chips to pirate your games,
Yeah.
but basically the hardware developer, they're like, we're gonna stop, and then they just didn't stop.
Hmm.
So can you guess what happened next?
Um, they were kidnapped and they were never seen again.
Well, close enough. The Nintendo lawyers were like, "Hey, we're gonna sue you now," and yeah, they I guess they filed a lawsuit, and that's not
Damn.
so. The thing that was also strange, and it's a little sensationalized in the headline, is a moderator of a prominent Switch piracy Reddit page also received legal backlash.
Hmm.
And that might seem like, oh man, they're going after moderators of Reddit and stuff. But that moderator also distributed tons and tons of Nintendo games illegally for people to pirate under a username, like under one username. So
Hmm.
not a very smart idea. So
Yeah.
James, what is your take on all of this?
Um, I don't know. I think it's kind of silly, honestly, especially with Nintendo's currently newest system. Definitely should not do that.
Yeah, and I think Nintendo gets a lot of backlash for how sue heavy they are and how
Yeah.
crazy they are about their IPs. But this is so flagrantly illegal and not within their rights to be selling, especially selling this
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Yeah, that's not, you're going to get sued. I don't think anyone in the world didn't I don't think anyone in the world would think you wouldn't get sued.
Yeah. I mean, also, I think while they do go overboard sometimes, I think other publishers don't sue enough. Like people aren't afraid enough to like do shit like that with other people besides Nintendo.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, I think that similar things happen with other games, like whether it be with mods that aren't like approved by the studio, and they're basically like built off of leaked assets and things like that. Um, or I mean, honestly, just piracy and things like that. I think other publishers just don't do enough about it,
I
and that's why
think
it continues to be a problem for some of them.
it is a problem, but it's a problem of optics too, where if you're a
Yeah.
developer and you're really hard on piracy or you're really cracking down on fan mods, I mean, looking at Nintendo, they deleted tons of Gary's Mod Nintendo assets that have been around for decades at this point on a whim, and it just looks bad. There is something in a situation like this where people are actively pirating your games, like, and selling mod chips that are that's a little
Yeah.
bit of a different story, but I do think it's a lose situation. It's a really hard situation as a developer to present to people who buy your games, to be like, "Hey, we're going to crack down, we're going to sue these people," because I think it's always seen as negative even if the developers are hurting.
Yeah, I think part of it is a matter of communication. Like you need to have very clear rules around what is and isn't okay. And I think where most of the controversy comes from is they just don't state what you can and can't do. So people who are like not doing anything wrong are scared to do like the mods that they want to do and stuff like that. It's because they think that they'll be seen as the same as people who aren't doing it legitimately.
Yeah, I think Sega has been pretty good with their fan games, as opposed to like a Nintendo where
Hmm.
they kind of embrace their fan games and even, giving jobs to people who work on their fan games or content. And that's
Yeah,
probably what you should do as a developer, is really embrace a lot of stuff. You do obviously have to have a line, like you're saying, when if people are using like data mined content that they're not supposed to be using.
yeah,
And I think people who make mods with that content, they know that it's going to get them in trouble. And I think the average creator who is trying to make something and not actively being malicious is usually okay.
yeah.
Well, that being said, one more piece of Nintendo news, and this is just kind of like a headline. This isn't really, I don't think it goes into too much depth, but Shigeru Miyamoto of Nintendo is 71 years old, and he's starting to consider, or at least talking to media and considering finding some sort of successor, which I'm sure they've probably pinned someone to
Yeah.
succeed.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine they've probably got had options for like at least a few years. Might just be
Yeah,
them
with
finalizing.
a company so big as Nintendo, although their administration and just the way some Japanese companies run, who knows, with their structure
Yeah.
and the slow nature of some of these companies with massive change.
Well, I also think a big thing is they prioritize like I guess like experience and age and like seniority. So I wouldn't imagine the successor would be somebody particularly young.
Hmm.
So yeah, it could just be that it's like it's one of his close coworkers or something that's like 10, 15 years younger or something like that.
I wonder if this will spark any kind of major change in some of the philosophy of the Nintendo games. I was thinking about this
Hmm.
with the general controlling body of Nintendo, of if the higher ups start to get cycled out and replaced due to age or whatever, if we're going to actually see some sweeping changes from Nintendo, notably as they are one of the slowest to adapt to trends companies in gaming, seeing by their things like using a phone app to use voice chat and
Oh god.
just getting HD consoles a couple of years ago.
Dude, I remember how big of a pain in the ass it was to figure out online play on the Wii, and I got
Hmm.
an Xbox and I was baffled by how easy it was.
You didn't like Wii Connect 24?
No, I didn't.
Well, I mean, to give them slight credit of that time, at least you didn't have to pay for online. Although now
Yeah.
that's, I guess, the normal thing to do for
God, like
console gaming, which is insane.
yeah, I had never thought about it when I switched to PC, but I just saw this like tweet the other day. It was like one of those. It was one of those things where it's like, what's something that's super normalized that shouldn't be, and it was like paying for online gaming, and I'm like, and that it just like hit me like, wow, people are really paying like $10 a month just to play.
Well, I think developers have caught, or not developers, but companies have caught on because consumers are a little bit like, yeah, this is insane, but they've been
Yeah,
bundling in the like PlayStation Plus or like the Game Pass stuff. So it's like, oh, look, it's all one cloud service, which
yeah,
seems like a better deal in a way, I guess. At least it's better than full paying for online,
Yeah,
but it
and I
is
don't know.
insane.
Yeah,
It,
it is pretty crazy.
like, what are you even? And especially in the case of Nintendo, it's like, what are you even paying for? Because their online is the worst. It's like the worst online of all time.
Yeah, I think it's like so interesting too when you think about the actual audience for the consoles, where it's like it's usually people who work. It's a lot of people who work like 9 to 5s and don't even necessarily have as much time to play as some other people would.
Yeah, and I guess they probably figure that maybe a person like that will buy the new Call of Duty. They'll buy maybe the Madden or something. They'll buy like 2K, and they'll
Yeah,
have 3 games they play. So they kind of supplement the income that they would get from other games on just selling them those online services. But then
yeah,
if you're playing everything, you feel like you're getting screwed.
yeah. I don't know. I guess it's also that audience can probably afford it regardless. So I guess they're not thinking about it as much.
I mean, if it's your only gaming like outlet, if that's the only way you're playing games, yeah, then you're like, oh well, of
Yeah,
course I'm paying for online. It's always been like this. This is just the fee for gaming.
yeah.
And it's not that
The
bad.
gaming
Of
tax.
the gaming tax, yeah, it's not that bad of a fee. But it's just insane to even have anything. But anyway, speaking of insane, crazy, cool things, that's not what we were talking
Oh
about.
God.
But it's Summer Games Done Quick. James, do you have any
Oh boy.
familiarity with the Games Done Quick events?
A little bit. I mean, I've seen. I remember when they did Bloodborne like ages ago. I watched it, and there's always this one part that sticks out to me where it's like, what was the place? This guy did this thing where he like heavy attacked through a railing and he fell through the entire map and ended up at the boss. Is it Yarhar Ghul? Is that it?
Well, good luck trying to name any Bloodborne location with
Yeah,
their
yeah.
wild naming
It
scheme.
was Yahar Ghul, the unseen village, and God, I don't know. I just have a really strong memory of that. And then like one of my cats, he like this is like a real side tangent, but one of my cats, he was like trying to go down the stairs, and we don't have like a stair well. There's like an opening, like a balcony, kind of to the next half of the stairs, and he just jumped down there. And it was like 6 feet, and I'm like, damn, he actually just hit a Bloodborne shortcut.
You just gotta watch out in case he starts seeing What was it? Madman's Wisdom or something. What is that game's crazy mechanic?
I think it was Insight.
Yeah, I know, but isn't it like Madman's Insight or something? It's something like that.
I don't know. I think it's like you collect Insight, and if it's high enough, you can see like the amygdalas and all that stuff.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't know since I haven't played it in forever because it's not on PC. So maybe they should get
Well,
around to doing
you
that.
can play it on PlayStation Now on PC.
In theory, I guess if stream it.
Yeah, that's actually how I originally played it, like on my own. Like previously, I just played it at a friend's house. But like I did my own first Bloodborne playthrough on PlayStation Now on PC.
Well,
And
regardless,
I got a level 150 Kirkhammer character.
I mean that's a good hammer to get.
Yep.
Regardless, speed runs. Summer games done. It's Summer Games Done Quick right now as the time of recording,
Hmm.
and as a former super fan of the event, I used to watch pretty much the whole event. I'm thinking maybe around like 2015, 2016 is like my sweet spot.
Hmm.
But just every year, I probably watch less and less of the event. I think it really started during COVID when the whole event was remote. I think taking
Yeah.
away the audience really took out the energy. But now we're back
Hmm.
in person, and I still struggle to watch it for longer periods of time. I don't know. There isn't really any fun that is being had that much in a lot of the
Yeah.
runs. It's weird. It's kind of cringe, which is fair,
Man.
and it's fine to be kind of cringe. But I was just thinking about how you're kind of set up to fail at an event like this unless you're a big personality. A lot of people who speedrun games, I mean, they'll talk to a chat, but it feels like they're not as comfortable in front of a huge audience of people, and maybe
Yeah.
they don't have a lot to say. So you're watching a lot of runs where people just kind of narrate what they're doing a little bit, and it's not that engaging.
Hmm.
Every now and then, I think it's always been like this though. Like maybe 1 out of 10 runs will be interesting, and you never know which one will be interesting either. But I'm not. Yeah, I've been watching it on and off here, and I think this year has been a little bit better than some of the previous years. But still, I
Hmm.
don't know. Maybe it's just getting old because it's similar things every year, twice a year. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
Did you watch anything this year at all? Were you even aware that it was running?
I was aware. I saw like the thumbnail on Twitch. I didn't actually watch it though.
Hmm. I mean, I want to check out I just missed. They did an old school RuneScape run, which we can talk about later because I've been playing that recently.
Hmm.
And they did a Half-Life 2, which is usually pretty fun. I did
Hmm.
catch some of the Mirror's Edge run, which was actually very cool to watch. I think games with a lot of speed tricks and actual like tricks are cool, and
Yeah.
games that are optimized but still like 4 hours long are not as fun to watch, in my opinion.
Hmm.
But you know, a game isn't optimized because it took 22 years to develop.
Oh no, what game?
So apparently, there is a new Game Boy Advance game that is releasing, or has just released. It is
Hmm.
called Kien,
Kine.
Kien, Kine. It's a game that took
Cayenne.
22 years to make, and it was made by 5 Italian people who started working on it in 2002.
Okay.
Yeah, so I believe this game was like a passion project, and they were just working on it, and it just spiraled. And I guess they took it to publishers and stuff like that, and no one would publish it, and it was just one of those development hell games.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw this article, I was thinking of the other development hell game, Duke Nukem Forever, which
Oh no.
infamously took like 15 years to make, and restarted 1,000 times. It was basically a
Hmm.
doomed to fail game.
Yeah.
But
I
this game
remember.
seems a lot lower in scope, and it is basically an action platform game. And if you look at the
Hmm.
trailer, it kind of has like almost like Souls-like looking bars. You saw the
Yeah.
trailer. What do
Yeah,
you
I
make of
saw it.
those bars?
I don't know. They're just kind of there. They're just vibing.
Yeah, I don't really. It's like it's strange to see like a stamina and or a health bar in a Game Boy Advance game. I wonder
Yeah.
how much editing went into the game up until recently, or if they really did finish the game like a decade ago and they've just been sitting on it.
I think part of the problem with the bars is that they don't have like the so they have the black outline, but it doesn't like close off the bar at all.
Hmm.
And it also doesn't show you like how much of your total bar you have.
Well,
So
I'm
just
just
kind of just
confused
kind
at
of
what the
there.
bars even do.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably just health, mana, and stamina.
Now,
I would hope.
this to me seems almost like an NFT drop. You know what I mean? Because it's trendy
Yeah.
to have collector games that are limited quantity. You can buy a physical copy. Because who's
Hmm.
actually really playing in this game? I'm not gonna lie. Like, I can't imagine it's that good.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very weird. It's
It
definitely a
it,
very an odd case, if you
it
will.
does really seem like a what was it? The Grimace game they released. McDonald's released like the Game
Oh
Boy
god.
Grimace game.
Oh man, that was a classic.
Where it's just like, look, it's an old thing. Buy the old thing. It's novel that it's they're
Yes.
making an old thing.
Buy old
But
thing now.
hey, cool. It's cool. Good for them. They finally got it released.
Yeah.
All right, I think that ends our segment of news. It wasn't too crazy this week. I didn't find anything that interesting
Yeah.
outside of
Yeah, news
those
was a little
articles.
light.
I think we were spoiled a little bit with the Summer Games Fest and the Xbox and all those showcases back
Yeah,
to back.
definitely. Yeah.
But we
News
can
fell
talk about our
off.
weeks a little bit.
Yes.
James, what have you been up to?
Yeah, so two things mainly for me. First, I've been playing a lot of Doom Eternal. So, I'm not sure if I talked about this previously. I don't think I did. But when Doom Eternal first came out, I had it pre-ordered. I was all playing it when it came out. I was really excited, really happy with it. And then, as happens with a lot of single player games with me, there was the whole wait for the DLC, and I believe the Doom Eternal DLC got delayed a little because the game released literally like the day COVID started. Like it was actually so insane. Like I remember I was on my 2 week like spring break, and Doom Eternal came out. And it was like the best time of my life. Um, but anyway, yeah. So the DLC got delayed a little bit. It came out, and at this point, I played it a little bit. The DLC was like insanely hard. By the way, I consider Doom Eternal to be like, I think it's the closest thing you can get to an FPS Souls like that doesn't feel like it's trying to copy Dark Souls. Um, but yeah, DLC was insanely hard. Had a lot of new mechanics. For some reason, they thought it was fun to throw a lot more Marauders at you, and this was before people knew how to like cheese them and insta kill them. So yeah,
What
I was in the
difficulty were you
DLCs.
playing on?
I think I was playing on the second hardest difficulty. I think it was Ultra Violence. Can't remember. But anyway, yeah. So I was playing through the DLC, and at some point, the lore was getting a bit hard to digest, mainly because Doom games they don't normally do the lore in the main story. It's usually in codex entries. But then the DLC kind of took a lot of the stuff from the codex entries and like made it the main story. So, there was a lot of like really really deep like Doom Eternal iceberg lore going on that I didn't understand because at the time I just wasn't down to read the codex.
Now, I am aware that some people criticize Doom Eternal for leaning in a little too much to the lore, and it looks like the
Hmm.
new game is like full on leaning into the lore. Do you have an opinion
So
on that?
so from what I understand, Doom 2016, the lore was all on the codexes, and you could basically just play through the game and be like, haha, I slay demons. Oh no, robot guy betrayed me. I don't like him. And that would be like it. Um, and then with Doom Eternal, they had there was like one or two characters that you would only know from the lore, and then the like Samuel Hayden, the robot guy, he kind of plays into the lore a bit because when you see him again, he's like all destroyed, and you have no idea how he got like that. So you have to read the codex. It was a little weird, but I also think they did it in a way that I think the way they did it was okay because they encouraged people to actually engage with the codex, whereas in Doom 2016 it was like you honestly couldn't. And if I was the person writing codex entries, I'd be kind of sad. I'm not gonna lie.
I didn't even know there was codex in that game, to be honest.
Yeah. So the idea is they're like collectibles. So you collect it's like a page from a book, and then you get the lore to like read. So they play it into the discovery aspect a bit with the codex. But yeah, so DLC was pretty lore heavy. It was a little overwhelming for me at first, and then recently, this was right before the Elden Ring DLC came out. I'm like, I want to start playing more single player games, and so I realized, oh, I haven't played Doom Eternal since like late 2020, and so I decided to pick it up back up again, and I started a fully new playthrough because I wanted to actually understand the lore this time. So I'm reading all the codex entries and stuff, and honestly, the game is not as hard as I remember.
Hmm.
It's actually
I wonder
really
if
really funny what like 4 years can do to your ability to play a single player video game.
do you think it had to do with the COVID brain fog? Do you think it had to do with uh now you're replaying the game so you have the skill
Um,
you needed?
well, both that and also when I played the game the first time, I was really lazy. I didn't do any like quick swapping or anything like that. I just wanted to run
Okay,
around with the
yeah.
super shotgun.
Yeah,
And
that
Doom
explains
Eternal
it.
makes it really hard to like one trick a gun because for the super shotgun, you only get 12 shots before like you need to get ammo.
Yeah, I can't imagine one tricking a gun in a Doom game.
Yeah, I would just have to use my chainsaw a lot to get ammo. But yeah, so it's been really fun. I'm nearing the end of the main story, and then I'm gonna do the DLCs. Problem is that at the moment I'm waiting on completing this game to have enough space on my SSD to re-download Elden Ring.
All
So
right,
it's like,
here's the strat, okay? I was like you, and then I just bought recently. I bit the bullet and I just bought an SSD fully for installing games. I think it's like 2 terabytes, and all I use that SSD for is just installing all my Steam games, just because it was so annoying to have to deal with, and it's just gonna get worse.
Yeah. I guess it's not as bad for me because I usually only do like one single player game at a time. And to be 100% honest, if I did have Elden Ring installed right now, I I would forget about one of the games. I would either not play Elden Ring or I would not play Doom.
Well, what's wild is I also bought the Elden Ring DLC, and I really just can't get into it. And I maybe I'll one day wake up and want to play Elden Ring again, but it's really been a struggle to like care.
Yeah, I think a big thing with the DLC is you probably just need to like fully do it another playthrough than do the DLC at the end or something like that.
It would have been better if it was all in one go. It's just I felt so done. I put the bookends. I felt like I did everything I wanted to do in Elden Ring, and now it's like
Yeah.
I can't be dragged back into it.
Oh
You
god, it's
know,
like, yeah, I did everything with Elden Ring. I'm satisfied waiting for the next Souls game. And then they announced the DLC. And it's like, "Oh,
it's good. It's good they have a DLC. I think it does fill
yeah.
out the game even more if you were playing it for the first time. But again,
Mhm.
it does feel like why am I even bothering to come back? You know.
Yeah.
But that's just me with DLC, especially for Souls games. I've always been like this. It's not like an Elden Ring specific issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely get that feeling too. You know, with my previous experience with Souls games besides Sekiro's, I haven't actually played them until all the DLC was already out. So I never
That's a
had
good
that
idea.
experience of like waiting for the DLC.
I think
I
the
guess it is
DLC is
kind of
always weaker anyway.
uh I'm not sure. And I think the Bloodborne DLC was pretty good. I think huh. This the Dark Souls 3 is hard cuz I remember the DLC definitely had some low points, but the bosses were like really fucking cool.
I don't even remember if I played any of the Dark Souls 3 DLC.
Yeah, Dark Souls 3 DLC was weird because I think I didn't like the areas as much, but the bosses were really fucking cool. Like Gale, the I think it was like the twin demons or something like that at the end of the first DLC. Then like also the weapons and stuff and the gear you get from the DLC is always like the coolest in the game. I remember the dual swords from the Ring City DLC and Dark Souls 3 were really fucking cool.
Well, that's true. You can get cool stuff from.
Yeah.
I do think the DLC weapon, although it does kind of suck, because usually the DLC weapon is like, wow, I want to use this, and it's locked behind something way later in the game. So if you ever want to actually do a full playthrough with that weapon, you have to like cheat engine it in, which Elden Ring has been a lot better about because you can just go rush to that item usually now. But
Yeah. Yeah, I
speaking
guess
of, oh yeah, you want to
yeah,
put a cap on the Souls talk?
yeah, I was gonna say I guess another thing with Elden Ring for me that keeps me from like getting from honestly just making it my top priority to get back into it is like I remember I had on my old laptop, I think I had 20 tabs of all the gear that I needed and where it was located. And I'm sitting here like, man, I don't really want to do that again.
That
Like
is
that
kind of the problem with Elden Ring. It's like
yeah.
if you want to do all the stuff, like do all the side quests, all the stuff. It's I don't want to do that again. It was like
Yeah.
80 hours. I don't want to do any of that again. I will play the main story, but the I don't want to do all the side content more than once.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell if it's that there's a problem with like the actual gear chase or if it's that we're spoiled by the internet. Because you know, normally I bet they probably expect, oh, like people are naturally going to discover this stuff and they'll like make their own build. But
Hmm.
also, w- God, like with how expensive skill points can get and like respecking and stuff like that, I would like to know like what I'm looking for in advance. And if I know what I'm looking for, then I'm gonna want to like skip parts of the game to do it. Like I just ran straight into Caelid to get the I think it was the Giant Crusher. Like, it was just in the middle
Yeah,
of Caelid, cast all these like things that would one shot me early in the game.
the first that when I bought Elden Ring on launch and played it, the first thing I did was try to rush around to get all the things that I wanted. I didn't really know what I wanted yet, but I was like, I want to get a big weapon. So I ran around, and I think that was the worst way to play the game because I
Yeah,
skipped a lot of triggers actually by going to Atlas Plateau like early. It skips a ton of NPC triggers and all that. So I restarted the whole
yeah,
game and I went through a lot slower, which I think was a better solution. But by the end, yeah,
yeah,
you're right. You are running around trying to find these obscure rings that are in a tree and the one corner of the map that if you stumbled there, you'd find it. But to get a good build, like the likelihood of you stumbling into 10 items that are all spread across the map is probably not going to happen. So
Yeah,
you
it's
got to kind
very
of chase
weird.
them down.
I guess it's like what I'm thinking is it's a lot of like it's kind of a lot of work that's not actually playing the game. I guess like if I think of Borderlands 3, right? If there's a weapon I really want to get or something like that, it's like, oh, I just need to like farm this boss a little bit or something like that, and I'll naturally come across them. They're not hidden in some secret corner of the game. The game will generally just naturally lead me to it. So it's weird. I guess for people that are really into discovery, it's probably their jam. And as I said before, maybe it's just the internet's ruined it for us, and we're like their intention isn't for us to chase those things; it's for us to just naturally find everything. But I don't know.
Well,
It's a weird
anyway,
situation.
speaking of other Souls like games, I bought Remnant 2. I have not played it at all
Dog.
yet. Do you have any advice for me going into Remnant 2 before I play, like any words of wisdom or warnings about to temper my expectations?
Um, can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. I will say it's a game where you might need a couple guides, but it's not like Elden Ring where you have to like try super hard to find a lot of the stuff. And also there are some weapons you just won't get. There's some gear that you just won't get on your playthrough because of the nature of the procedural generation. But I think that they've done a pretty good job balancing out the gear. I don't think that there's any super OP, or at least as far as I know, I don't think there's any super unbelievably OP weapons anymore that make everything else look like shit. So yeah, I
I'm
think whatever you find, you'll have fun.
I'm interested in playing the game. I bought it because it was on sale in the Steam sale. I've been thinking about it for a while. I don't know when I'm going to start playing it,
Hmm.
but yeah, I do have it in my backlog now, and I had a mixed relationship with the first game where I enjoyed elements of it, but I also thought it was horrible. Like I thought it was like that game pivoted between like a 3 and an 8 rating out
Yeah.
of 10 for me on multiple parts, but the
Hmm.
highs never really reached. I don't know. Maybe the highs reached like a 7, maybe not even an 8. Like the highs of that game are like a 7 out of 10, but the lows are like a 3 or a 2. Like the
Yeah.
lows are so low.
Yeah, I definitely think you'll find this game is a bit more consistent. I think the boss fights are quite a bit better, and the areas are more interesting. Like I think some of the areas in Remnant One are really dull.
It's like the desert, the snow, the
Yeah,
cave. Yeah.
yeah. There's some returning planets from what I remember. Yeah, there's a couple returning planets. But I think they made them more interesting this time around. I think you'll also
Well,
find a lot more. I think there's also a lot more puzzles and things like that, and like kind of how do I describe it? There's puzzles. There's some like unique areas that you're meant to like. You know what? Actually, I won't spoil it.
okay.
There's the areas are just more unique. That's all
I've
you
been
need to know.
teased.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, James, that was the Remnant 2 talk. Do you want to talk about I'm looking at your doc right now.
Yes. Supervive. So I believe I talked about it a little bit last time, but this is just Project Loki. They just gave it a real name, and it's in like public alpha now.
A real worse name.
Yes, a real worst name. The name is pretty bad. They're really bad with names. Really, really bad with names.
We've discussed that, yeah, in the past.
Yeah. But they released like an actual trailer. It was cool. It was like used like community submitted clips and stuff like that. And they had like a little animation at the start. Um Still think the balance is a little wonky. I did stream it a little bit, and there are many moments where I lose my mind at how unbelievably underpowered my character is and how overpowered another character is. Like so basically the character I play is called Bishop, and her big thing is she uses rockets that are like really slow projectiles as her primary attack. And she has a punch that like if the person you punch collides with a wall, it'll do like a percentage of their max HP and stun them briefly. And then there is a character called Jewel, who her whole thing is she's like the lightning chick, and she has like a knockback and a long range stun. and like a stacking mechanic that if she gets enough stacks on you, if she dashes through you, she does like a shit ton of damage. And so the main problem is she has a one-shot combo and I don't. And it's really sad. Like
Now,
I'll do my all my high skill abilities on her and she'll be half HP and then she'll kill me from halfway across the map. Not
could
fun.
this be partially the case of when you're playing a character, you always this is the in general when a person plays a character, they immediately think they're the worst character and need to be buffed.
Oh no, like this character I'm playing is like hard. She has like a hard cap on her damage, whereas other characters have like one-shot combos.
Hmm.
Not like literally one shot, but like you get stunned with the first thing and then it chains into the next thing and you die before you can do anything. So it's like the only thing you can do is dodge the first thingy.
Have you considered playing a better character?
All the better characters I find uninteresting.
That's a problem.
Vid.
I think in games, any competitive game now, I look toward whoever the most top tier S tier character is, and
Mhm.
I try to pick one of those characters, so I don't,
Yeah.
because if I don't like any of those characters, then maybe I'll drop off the game. But I
Mhm.
think it's better to choose someone that is always going to be at least pretty good than to fall in love with a character who is so bad, because then
Yeah.
it just hurts to play them.
Yeah, definitely.
As a person who plays big slow characters in a lot of games, big slow character usually isn't very good, especially like fighting games, but usually they're like my archetype that I enjoy. So I do
Yeah,
feel
they
your
don't they
pain a
don't
little
really have
bit.
very many of those.
Um but yeah, anything else about the poorly named game with poorly named characters?
Um and not too much else new, I guess. I mean, just kind of vibing, playing it when I can. The playtests are like so for the EU playtest it's 1 to 6 p.m. EST, and then I think the NA ones are like 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. or something like that. But yeah, outside of the whole character balance thing, game is fun. If you play a better character, you'll probably have a great time. Just don't play Bishop.
Yeah, but those things get changed, you know. Who knows
Yeah.
with nerfs and patches and whatever.
Yep.
But do you know what else? Well, do you know who else was up from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. playing video games? It was me. I was playing old
Ooh.
school RuneScape, which I'm back in. My membership is about to run out today, I think. But I just put another 30 days into that game. I haven't played in
Pog.
a while. I feel like this time I've actually made a lot of progress in that game.
Hmm.
I'm wondering if have you ever considered trying RuneScape at all?
Um, Not recently. I played it when I was like really, really young on like my brother's account back when we shared a computer.
I feel like you should try. I mean, you can play a little bit of free to play. I think you should consider trying it because you might actually really like it. I'm not
Hmm.
sure. I feel like it could go either way for you.
Yeah. I think it'd be. I'd have to get past the graphics first.
Well, there is. So I could show you. I'll show you after the pod. There
Hmm.
is. So the way you play old school RuneScape is you use this third party client called RuneLight, and that's how everyone plays the game. It adds a ton of quality of life, and you can add
Yeah.
plugins to your game. Now, the way I play it currently is there's a plugin that has like way better graphics. It increases the graphics, so it's still stylized and cartoony, but it looks a lot nicer, like visually. I can show you what it looks like. So that's
Hmm.
something. And you can really make the game look pretty good. And there's a lot of quality of life stuff. It's just it's a game where if you like progression and you like challenge like setting goals for yourself to meet, I think you could get really into it.
Yeah.
Recently I just got the fighter torso. Weirdly, weirdly late on my account. My account is like 80 stats basically in a lot of things. So I
Hmm.
should be probably getting a better stuff. I had like a this is for the people who know. I had like a Bandos chest plate, but I
For the
sold it because I
knowers.
wanted what?
Said for the knowers.
For the knowers, yeah. I had but I sold it so I could use the fighter torso so I could spend that on different gear so I could optimize my gear a little bit. So I've just been playing a lot of that game while, having Summer Game Stone quick on in the background. It is definitely the best game to listen to a podcast or like watch something in the background to.
Mm-hmm.
Active, just like full on playing it, I don't find myself doing that too much unless I'm doing like a boss or something.
Man,
Non-distracted play.
non-distracted play. It is not a game to play undistracted.
Yeah, you need to be under the influence of something, either a substance or a podcast,
A
to enjoy.
substance or a podcast.
Yeah, pretty much. I'll show you some. I'll show you some of it after the pod,
Yeah.
so you can take a look. The
Yep.
other game I've been playing recently is some more Roblox, for mainly for recording content for shorts and my long form content.
Mm-hmm.
I've really been playing a lot of it recently, and it does feel. I don't know if this is just because I'm really not caught up with how the game is right now, the state of the game,
Yeah.
but it almost feels like it's somewhat of a renaissance of relevancy, because it's kind of insane that a game from like 2007 has maintained constant relevancy and has probably even greater numbers than it has ever had into like the current day.
Mm-hmm.
It, um, but it is really strange to play now, because voice chat is a thing. I haven't actually heard a single soul using voice chat, but yeah, voice chat is enabled in the game, and there's a lot more adult experiences that are being made. And some
Mm-hmm.
of the statements of the creators, or like the people who are in charge of the game right now, are very interesting, because it feels like they're trying to make this like a metaverse slash almost like a VR chat. Well, whatever the metaverse is supposed to be, like the Mark Zuckerberg
What,
metaverse.
whatever the metaverse is supposed to be
Yeah,
is
they're trying to turn
Roblox.
Roblox into that. So they're encouraging. What's weird is they're like encouraging more adult, more adult experiences and games that are more mature rated. So you can look at the game list and see a game like a Call of Duty type game with like
Mm-hmm.
some violence and blood and stuff just next to like Be a Baby Simulator. And it's just a weird energy right now. It's a weird energy for the game, because I assumed that, I mean, I'm assuming most of the player base is very young children, but there
Mm-hmm.
are people who are, older, who play the game, and maybe they've played it, like I've played it since like 2008 on and off. But I wonder if there's like newer players who are older who have never played it and have no nostalgia, who are getting into it.
Yeah.
It's strange. I think a lot of those players are creators, though, they who make games.
Mm-hmm.
That was my tirade on on
Tirade.
Roblox. I think we can ask some questions now. We're at the question segment of the
Sure.
run, and um, oh wow, okay. My whole doc just got screwed up, but whatever. We're in the question section. If you have a question, you can email us at hyeppodcast@gmail.com. That's the hyeppodcast@gmail.com. Now, I don't have any specific questions, so I'm just gonna ask you some random stuff. Do you have any? Well, first, do you have any specific questions that you wanted to ask?
Um. No, not particularly.
Yeah, I mean, I could
Not a
pull
very
from some of our,
questionable person.
I could pull from some of our previous questions, but I'm thinking I might just hit you with the off of the dome quandaries.
Off the dome quandaries.
Yeah, what is your? I think we delve into nostalgia a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but just thinking about Roblox has got me down kind of a memory lane train.
A memory lane rabbit hole.
And Roblox is one of the games that I clicked a banner ad. Remember banner ads that would just
Oh
advertise random
God.
nonsense?
Yeah,
Um, I,
those were the
yeah, I clicked a
days.
banner ad, and that's how I got to this game. What is your most successful banner ad click from back in the day that led you to something actually good?
I think just the Adventure Quest banner ad.
Mhm.
Actually, no, it wasn't Adventure Quest. It was Adventure Quest Worlds. I remember. So I had already played Adventure Quest, and I saw like a random banner ad, and like, why am I getting banner ads for Adventure Quest? I already played it because I didn't know how ads worked back then. But anyway, so I saw
It's
it.
mhm.
Yeah, I saw like Adventure Quest World. I'm like, what the hell is this? And so I played it, and I had like a lot of fun with it, and I kept getting lost. So I didn't actually like do much overall, even though I played the game a lot. And I think a very strong memory I have was this dude I met named Jet. And one day, oh god, I was in like fourth grade, and one day this dude just said, "Hey, you remember that thing Cartoon Network used to have called Toonami?" I'm like, "Yeah." That was like a year ago, man. What you're acting like this is ancient history? He's like, "Yeah, I kind of miss it." And then I just never saw him again. It was
That
like
is
the
a
class.
weird
It was the
thing.
classic like friend last online 5 years ago thing.
That is a weird thing. Because I remember meeting a lot of friends, and I remember a lot of my interactions would be in an in-game chat or using like a Steam chat. But now that there's
Yeah,
like Discord, you don't really, no one really uses in-game chats anymore in games for the most part.
yeah. I think part of it is also most of them suck, probably because people don't use it.
Yeah, why would they spend development time on something people won't use?
Yeah.
I am a sucker for a good text chat with text bubbles or like speech above your character's head. I do think that's
Hmm.
fun. I think a weirdly large reason of why I don't like Final Fantasy 14 as much is because all of the chat is in the little box and you don't get to see it. So you'll be standing in a giant hub and people will be typing, but it'll be like a ghost town. I don't like
Yeah.
that. But that was due to like a PS3 limitation.
Big agree.
Um, but do you have any? So I think you could probably agree that MMO type games like that were a lot more fun when you had no idea what anything when you had no idea what was in the game or what was meta or stuff like that because you were
Yeah.
just kind of exploring anything was possible,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Shouts to Pop Tropica. We've talked about Pop Tropica I think before, right?
Yeah, yeah, we have.
Let's talk
Pop
about it
Tropica
again.
was Pop Tropica was special.
Especially bad, to be honest. I mean, it was
Yeah,
special
it was
and
pretty bad.
cool, but there was no gameplay. It was just ads.
Yeah, remember
That's the
God, remember
secret.
all the remember the bosses?
No, I don't. I just
You just like
remember
it was
like
literally just like
seeing
clicking
ads.
shit.
I remember
I remember like the
jumping around and
superhero
clicking ads.
island. I think the coolest thing about that game was a superhero island where you could just like fly around. Like that was the only superpower you could actually use on command. You could fly around. And I remember
I
I would
think
do that like for hours a day as a kid.
I think the
Like
best part of that game was you could just like click on any character and like take their outfit so you could make some
yeah.
crazy fit. That was definitely a great feature. I think that was an interesting game though because there was no gameplay. It was
Yeah.
jumping around and looking at ads. There was nothing to do in that game.
Okay, so I actually think what's really interesting, I saw this tweet today. It was like, it was this guy was playing a Mario game, and he said, actually 90% of playing video games as a kid was taking Mario to one spot and being like, "This is Mario's house," and it's having him sit there, and like that. I'm thinking of that because that's basically what Pop Tropica was. You actually just used your imagination the whole time.
I don't know. Even as a kid, I think it's because I had Maple Story, which was also kind of making stuff up, but there was
Yeah,
combat, and I was playing Pop Tropica post in a post Maple Story world. I'm like, why can't I? I could
post
be hitting
Maple
mushrooms
Story
right now.
world.
I'm looking at an ad for Spiderwick Chronicles, and I could be hitting mushrooms. You know?
Oh man,
Yeah, man.
God,
They're making like a
that brought back
Spiderwick
like a
Chronicles show, right?
I think so. Yeah, that brought back some like crazy memories. But the show apparently it has the I am a surgeon guy in it.
Who is it? A meme?
Yeah, you know the good doctor, like the like the main character, the good doctor.
No, I know
And
the
there's like a
name
meme
of
where he
the.
keeps saying like I am a surgeon.
I did not know that. No,
He's in it. It's Freddie Highmore.
is he the Spiderwick Chronicle?
He's Jared Grace
You know what's
apparently.
weird? There was a slew, and a string
Oh wait, no, that
of.
was never mind, never mind. That was the 2008 movie that he was in.
Okay, yeah, he's not in
Okay,
the TV show.
we're looking at multiple adaptations here.
there was like a slew of like mid YA movies, like young adult fiction movies after Harry Potter, such
Yeah.
as The Spiderwick Chronicles, The Golden Compass, the sequels to Chronicles of Narnia. The first one people liked.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh man.
Aragon, also trash movie. And a lot of these properties, I think the books people enjoy, but the media transition to movie was just absolute trash.
Yeah, the original Percy Jackson movies. God, those were terrible.
And that's like a very beloved that movie, that franchise. I mean, I never really was into it, but from the fervor of the fans, it seemed like it could have been almost a Harry Potter, another Harry Potter, if the movies didn't suck. Because I liked it as a
Yeah.
kid, kind of the first
Yeah,
movie.
they did like a Disney Plus series recently. Apparently it was like really good, but I think part of the problem that people are experiencing is they're realizing they're like too old for it.
Yeah, I think they brotherhooded it right, where they just like will just more faithfully adapt the book instead of abridging it.
I'm not sure if it was more faithful necessarily. I can't remember because I think people were saying that there were like some changes, but I think that it was that the author was actually involved this
Mhm.
time. Um,
Mhm.
but from what I understand, people generally liked it outside the people that just were like, I'm actually too old for this. These actors are actually like they're 12-year-olds and they're good at acting like kids.
Now I am wondering how. So they're HBO. They're producing a new Harry Potter TV show based on the books,
Hmm.
and I didn't even consider that, like what you just said. Of what if I'm not the audience at all for this, and
Yeah,
it skews too young, and it's just not interesting at all.
yeah. I think at this point with some of these like uh series adaptations of these older books is they're trying to capture a new audience like this current generation.
So,
I don't even know if it's necessarily that they're trying to get them to read the books, but I think it's just they're trying to find a way to get them to engage with the story.
so you're saying Harry is going to floss at the camera and then hit the gritty while casting the Killing Curse.
Harry's going to teach them the classical values of honesty, integrity, and doing your math homework.
No, I think I was more accurate. I think there's going to be at least one Fortnite dance sequence.
Oh man.
I hope it's good. I really think that of all the reboot franchises, there could be something interesting there
Yeah.
because they a lot was omitted from the books to the movies, and
Yeah,
they
I'm
have a
not
chance of
sure.
making it good.
I remember there was something people were upset about with it. I think it might be that J.K. Rowling was actually involved.
Which is it's so funny that
Yeah, that's actually really funny to think about. That the author is such a horrible person that people don't want them involved in the adaptations. Oh man,
yeah. Well, let's just hope it's good.
yeah.
Let's hope it's good. Who knows? It's one of
For
those
the
things.
for the sake
Well,
of the potheads, I hope it's good.
yeah. I'm thinking it's like it's one of those things where it's like it's almost too big to fail, and then you think of Game of Thrones, also HBO, where it's like, yeah, they can't make this, they can't end this poorly.
I just
It's
don't
too
think
big to fail.
I don't think too big to fail exists.
Well, at
I think
least
it's just
Harry
a
Potter's
fake
done.
concept.
All they have to do is adapt the material. They can make changes and do whatever they want as long as they like adapt most of the source material. They'll be fine. They have a story structure. They can change, and they have the opportunity to change a ton of stuff. They can do whatever they want.
Hmm.
But if they, as long as they stick mostly to the laid out thing that people enjoy, I feel like it's going to be they have to put their foot in their own mouth to really destroy their own thing. They have to go out of their way
Yeah.
to ruin that formula.
Hmm.
Who knows? All
Who
right,
knows?
I think that's a pod. James, who are you?
I'm James, aka Afro4E. You can find me on Twitch and X, maybe.
Well, it's the same thing. Oh wait, no, sorry, I was thinking Twitter. I just sorry,
Okay,
my brain just stopped
I
working.
was about to say, damn, did I miss something?
I heard the T word and I was like, Twitter.
The T word.
Yes. Can I find you anywhere else?
No, I'm a
Okay.
mysterious man.
I'm Matt, aka Matt Fondude, and you can find me on Twitch and X, and on my two channels on YouTube now, at Matt Fondude for edited content, and Matt Fondude, the full streams for full streams. Bye, everyone.
Bye.